Good morning, everyone. Good morning and welcome back. Welcome back to the PorscheCooled Podcast. The podcast, we chat about all things Porsche, but today we're talking to an owner. We're talking owner stories again. It's Tuesday. It's the owner stories episode. Today I have another Australian coming in. Yes, it's been a little bit of I've had quite a few Australians lately. My home country, my hometown, which I'll be heading back to very shortly. So I've got Matt coming in this morning. I'm running late. He's actually online now, and I've just got to quickly connect to Zoom and start getting it organized. But a little introduction before I get him online through Zoom. Matt's from Victoria in Australia. He's got a really good Porsche story. You would have seen what he owns in the title. It's a special one, though. It's got a little bit of a special option on it, which we're going to chat about. Matt's got a few other cars, which I'm interested to know about, and I'm also interested to know about his other cars, how he got into Porsche and how his car journey evolved over the years. Anyway, enough talking from me. Let's get Matt on the line from Australia, from Victoria, and start talking about his PorscheCooled owner story. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to Owner Stories. Like I said, number 47. Another Australian joining me today. I have Matt here already. We're connected by Zoom. Welcome, Matt. Welcome to the podcast. Matt's coming in from Victoria in Australia. How are you this morning?
Good, buddy. How are you going?
I'm very well. I should say, how are you this evening? Because it's evening in Australia. We're doing this. I'm recording this first thing in the morning. Or first thing in the morning for me anyway, in London. And Matt is in Victoria, evening. Thanks for coming on. I know you reached out to me quite a while ago, I think, wasn't it? You reached out to me quite a while ago. I've been following your Instagram, and I think your car, I think the 911 that you have, and the listeners will already know what that is from the title, but I think it's an interesting one, and I know it's your first 911, so we'll get into that shortly. But as you know, Matt, we always like to start owner stories. To get you into the swing of things, we always like to start it with where it all started with Porsche. And, you know, I've had a few owners on the last few episodes who haven't really been into Porsche when they were a kid or really took much notice of it. It sort of happened later in life. So where did it start for you? Was it something that you noticed when you were growing up? Were there neighbors or relatives or friends that owned Porsches? Or was it something that you started noticing a little bit later on your car journey?
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, it definitely started at a young age for me. Some family friends. Actually, you'd remember the band out of the 70s, Skyhooks?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so Cheryl Strawn, the lead singer of Skyhooks, was a close family friend, and we used to spend time with him in like the mid-'80s when we're on school holidays. And I remember he'd got obviously was like a 83, 84 model 911. I didn't know exactly the model then, but it was just a Carrera, I guess. I remember my parents would be like, oh, there's the Porsche. And just this big, all this attention around this car. And pretty much from that moment on, I was just always wanted a Porsche when I got older at some point in my life.
Okay. Just so the international listeners know, Skyhooks was quite a big band in the 70s. I mean, he's passed away now, but it was quite a big band in the 70s in Australia. I guess it's rock band, isn't it? Pop rock, wasn't it? I don't know. I think that's what you would call it. Yeah. Okay, so that's a good... I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, at the time, I mean, it was a big deal to have a 911. In the early 80s. I mean, and so I guess just the attention drawn to the car, and it was a beautiful car. I still do remember it. And from that moment on, it was just always, Porsche.
So did you keep noticing them after that though? I mean, were you young then? You're a kid then, right? So you started...
But look, I reckon I was probably maybe 5 or 6. So I was super young.
Yep.
But I mean, growing up, definitely always a car guy. And you always love like Ferraris and Lamborghinis. You love the exotic stuff, but I guess the draw card to a Porsche, it was always that understated sports car, you know what I mean? It had style, but it wasn't super flamboyant or over the top.
Usable and understated. Were you one of those guys? I mean, I wasn't. Were you one of those guys that had one of those kids that had the posters on the wall? I mean, I
wasn't either, but wasn't either. But obviously you knew, growing up, you had Matchbox cars and you had your Ferraris and your Lambos and stuff like that. And as a young kid with a passion for cars and whatnot, you're always you would always see your Ferraris and whatnot, the Testarossas and all that sort of stuff. And, but yeah, the Porsche.
I agree, though. I think for me, it was the same, Matt. It was like Matchbox cars were the thing that sort of got me into cars. You know what I mean? Because I used to get one every week. It was almost like every week I'd get a Matchbox car. It was like a treat, or every couple of weeks. And that's how you learned the different brands, and that's how you learned the different shapes. And there'd be, Porsches, or there'd be, American cars or whatever. And that's kind of how you became familiar with different car brands. Well, that's how I became familiar anyway.
Absolutely, bud. Absolutely. But yeah, I guess, as you know, Porsche is just such an interesting brand, and it's just always been there, the desire to have one and just the love for that brand. Obviously we'll get into it later, but it is funny. The 911 that I bought is only the second 911 that I've ever been in, and the first 911 that I've ever driven.
Okay, well, that's good. That's good. Let's get into that car journey. So, we don't always start at the top end. We make our way up. We have the passion, but we make our way up through different models, different cars. When you started to learn to drive, when you got your license, what was the first memorable car that you owned that you still remember today, and maybe even wish you never got rid of it? Was there a car like that?
It is funny, but it's a funny story. I wouldn't say that I had any memorable cars. Like my first car was a 75 model Mazda 929. So not a super exotic sort of car. Look, I bought it. Well, my parents bought it for me for $700.
Okay.
And she was pretty much what you would call a shitter. Like, it was full of rust, burn a shit ton of oil.
Right.
But it was funny at that time in 75, like Mazda shared, the RX-4, which had the rotary, and the 929 had the piston engine. So they were essentially the same car. The 929 actually had rotary badges on it.
Right.
And I had some mates that were, that were right into rotaries and stuff. And look, it was my first car and I loved it. And mate, I had the thing for at least 10 years, and spent a fortune on it, stripped it down, resprayed, had the engine. I had the 2-liter built up, like balanced, blueprinted, twin 45 Webers and all that sort of thing. And
so is that a regret? Is that a regret getting rid of that car, or there's no regrets there?
But it's an absolute regret now because, mate, I sold it for like $5,000. And
I was going to say prices.
Dude, I could probably get like $25,000 for the fucking thing.
I was talking to Steve for this week's episode. We're obviously recording this one in advance, but I was talking to Steve. We recorded Friday's episode yesterday, and I saw on Bring a Trailer in the US there was a 93 Supra that sold. And I think someone posted it, someone that I follow on PorscheCooled, one of the Porsche pages. And it sold for $200,000 US for a 93 Supra, which is just like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like when you remember what those cars were and you think it's just crazy the price of Japanese. everyone complains about the prices that Porsches have got to, but then the prices of Japanese cars are just as insane.
It is, but I think we're in such a bizarre transitional period where, I'm not, like, I respect and I like Japanese cars. And look, one of those, that's like a Mark IV Supra, I think, is it?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Possibly, yeah.
Out of all the Supras or the Japanese, I'd love a stock standard Supra. But that style of car is never going to be made again. And no. I think that's what we're sort of seeing. Like, those true performance drivers cars, if you want them, a Series 6 or a Series 7 RX-7 I would love. Mate, they're just through the roof these days.
Yeah, they've gone very crazy. All right, so you had the Mazda. What comes next? What is the car? Is it the cars you own now, or is there something in between that you... No.
So during the period that I owned the Mazda, I sort of started my own business, and I was running a recording studio, doing audio production, producing bands and whatnot. And so during that period, I sold the Mazda to invest into the business, to buy more equipment and whatnot. And then just sort of, bought my first house and whatnot. And was super keen to get back into some kind of performance sort of car and whatnot. And got turned on to Renault Sport. And like the little Clios, the 172s and the 182s. and went and test drove a couple of those, and fell in love with a little Clio 182 Cup, which was a friggin' awesome car. I do regret selling that for sure. But I had that. I probably had that for only 12 months, and then I sold that and bought a Clio R27, which was like a limited. It was based on a 197, but they bought like 50 of them into the country, and this thing only had 8,000 Ks on it. And so I really fell for Renault Sport for the brand. And but
so when did you? Sorry, Matt. When did you buy your first one? How long ago was that?
I'd probably say 8-10 years ago.
10 years ago. Okay.
Yeah.
And, I don't know much about the Renault sort of brand as such. I know the Cups. I always see them, and I used to see them in Sydney, and I always thought they looked really cool. You know what I mean? Like, they're a really cool car. They were more expensive than the other ones, but they always had a nice, driver's feel about them. They're a good driver's car, aren't they? They're a fun car.
For sure.
A fast car.
They're awesome in the respect that, I guess, a super underrated brand, particularly in Australia. Like, you say Renault to most people, and instantly they're like unreliability, cheap, shitty plastic interiors. But I've owned like 4 of them, and they're rock solid. You can drive the arse out of them all day, and never had a problem with any of them.
But it's not about the interior, though, is it? I mean, maybe there are some cheap plastics in them. I mean, obviously the Cups and the top of the line ones are better, but it's more about the engineering. It's more about the engine, isn't it? It's more about the feel of the car, and that's what it's about with those. Yeah,
and bang for buck, those things, you just can't beat them.
I just want to go back for a second because, I just want to tell the listeners that I've done a lot of these owner stories now. This is number 47. And I want to say out of everyone that's been on the owner stories, Matt has the more professional setup than anyone else I've had on owner stories. Because he's got, it looks like a Shure microphone, which...
It is. It's an SM7, my friend.
Which I'm lusting after, which I still haven't bit the bullet on. And he's got a boom arm. So I just wanted to throw that in because I'm impressed by your setup there, Matt. And your sound sounds very good as well.
Mate, I would be... I have... like I said, I have ran a recording studio for 14 years, and I have plenty of bits and pieces still kicking around.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay, so you're into the Renaults, so you bought a few of those. Let's jump forward. When did you? So you've got a couple of Renaults now. So let's talk about those before we get into the Porsche. Which one came? So what do you have now? You have 2 Renaults, and which one came first?
Yeah, so I've got so just a little back step. So I had the R27, which was a 2010 model, and I only had that for probably just over 12 months again because obviously, family things happen. We got pregnant with our first child, and I just didn't drive it. And it was, man, it was really tragic. The thing cost me like 32 grand,
right?
Which was a lot of money for me at the time. And I had it in the driveway in one of those Bunnings tents, those shitty bloody Bunnings carports.
Yeah.
And dude, on windy days, I would just be freaking out, like thinking, man, this thing's going to collapse on the car. And it just wasn't the right time for me to have a car that cost that money. And I just wasn't using it, and I had nowhere to store it. So ended up selling that. We had to get a family car. We bought a little Volvo V50 wagon, a little T5, which was freaking awesome because the first generation Ford Focus with the 5-cylinder, the 2.5 litre 5-cylinder, that was actually a Volvo engine out of those V50s.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
And that was a 6-speed manual, so that was a great car. But so in that time, we obviously got the family car, had the first child, then had a second child. And 4 years ago, we moved out of Melbourne up to Mansfield, where we are now in northeast Victoria. And so we sort of settled in here, and within the first sort of 12 months, just that itch again. I'm like, dude, I need another car in my life, like a car that I love, that I can wash on the weekends, go for drives.
But you didn't completely move out of a driver's car, because that Volvo still was quite a good car, wasn't it? I mean, even though it was a family-orientated car, it still was more performance than just getting something super basic. So you didn't want to give it up. You didn't want to give it up completely, did you?
I guess that it's the true trait of any passionate car guy. When you get the option to buy a car and you're searching for a car, you're always trying to spec the most performance variant of a practical model. And it was funny when I sold the Clio and we got the Volvo.
Yeah.
I put like Bilstein suspension in it, and got a stage 1 tune on it. It was a great car, man. I had many traffic light moments with dudes in like SS Commodores and stuff, and you could see them. They're like, "Why the fuck is there a Volvo station wagon still next to me?"
yeah, that's funny. All right, so you moved to Northeast Victoria. Is that snow country? Is it snow up there?
It is, but on our property here, we get snow probably 4 times a year. But yeah, we look up to Mount Buller, so most mornings you wake up and beautiful snow peaks.
Beautiful spot.
Yeah. But so we move up here, and I was just hankering for another car that I could sort of get into and love. And mate, the little Clios were going cheap at the time, and I bought that thing sight unseen. Yeah, the 172. It's a 2010. It had 150,000 Ks on the clock, which was sort of higher than I liked. But I mean, if they're well serviced, they should be fine.
Right.
And I did as much sort of background checking, like rang previous mechanics that had serviced the car and spoke to them and got as much history on the car, because I bought it sight unseen. I flew to Sydney and picked it up, but man, I got it for like $7,500.
Wow, that's good. Do you still have this car now? This one you don't have, right? This one's gone.
I do.
You do?
No, I do. So from that point on, I was like, any cars that I get, I'm not in the business of selling any cars from here on. Okay,
so you have that one. Is that that's the smaller one? Is it? That's the one.
It's a little silver one. So they're a 2-liter.
Yes.
Yeah, little 2-liter naturally aspirated. It's got a stage 1 tune on it, which being naturally aspirated, you don't get massive gains, but it's got a catback exhaust on it and an intake. But the thing hauls. That little car never ceases to amaze me at just how.
Yeah, but it sounds amazing.
Yeah, and just how much fun it is to drive, and they're only sort of 200 horsepower, but it's only a small car.
Not very heavy. So you're into the driving cars. You've had the Renaults. You've got another Renault, and then what comes next? You get a second one, do you?
Yeah. So in the middle, it was crazy. The first lockdown we had, you know what it's like. You're always on car sales, yeah.
Unfortunately, yes.
Always on car sales, and I've always loved the 250. Yeah, the 250 Cups. It's like the Gen 3 Megane, and I think.
I know that one. That's one of my favorites, actually. That's the one I always remember noticing. That's a really nice shape.
And they're amazing cars. I mean, but I think that whole fear of never being able to get these cars again, sort of starts to come in. You're sort of like, well, Renault's going all electric. They've literally dropped the Renault Sport marquee, like it's Alpine now.
Yes.
And that car, that 2-liter turbocharged 6-speed manual with the Cup chassis, you're never going to get it again.
Yeah.
And found this one at a dealership, one owner, only had 60,000 Ks on it. And man, I got it for like $16,000.
Once again, that's very cheap, because weren't they in the $50,000
absolutely,
mark?
Like 52
grand.
60s. Yeah. And this thing, factory, big Brembo brakes. It's got a titanium catback exhaust system, a stage 1 tune. And man, that thing, it's an amazing car. The ride quality is awesome, and it's just got heaps of performance. It's an awesome car.
So are you continually tweaking those cars, Matt, or they're perfect now as they are?
They're done. The Megane is sort of done where it is. The Clio, I'm starting to sort of strip stuff out of it, because that's sort of, I've put that on because Bilstein make a coilover pack for that car, so I've chucked that in it and, started stripping the interior out, because essentially...
Okay.
There's a company in the UK, K-Tech. They do like full bolt-in half cage. So the plan is to eventually just set that up as a little track sort of thing. That's the ultimate goal for it.
So that's for the Clio. So have you done track cars in the Renaults, or you just drive them on the great roads near where you live?
Just drive them, bud. Yeah. Just
drive them. Okay, so let's keep going on, because I want to get into the Porsche. So what's this? And I'll let listeners know, actually. Go to Matt's Instagram. It's at MD996. Have a look at his cars. He's got the Renaults on there, the Porsches on there, and the other one, the Volvo. What is this Volvo wagon? So you got rid of one Volvo wagon and you decided I need another one. Is that what happened? I mean, this is a classic one though. It's a very cool shape.
It is. It's a 240. Bud. When I was younger, we had two Volvo 240 wagons because, man, they're cheap, super reliable, cheap to run. But what's funny is as a young kid, like they were super daggy looking cars. Like you get dropped off at school in a Volvo wagon. You're like,
it wasn't cool.
Like,
no, it wasn't cool at all. No, they've become cool. They've become cool, but it wasn't cool then.
Mate, the cult following that these things have, and once again, just late night, car sales. And the guy, I bought that sight unseen as well, which I was a bit it was a funny situation because that was in Sydney as well. And the guy bought it off. Yeah, he put those rims on it and it just looked really nice. And he was a motivated set.
I want to ask you, just before you go on, I want to ask you about those rims because I looked at those rims and I thought, they look very Porsche-style rims, those rims. You know the ones I'm talking... The rims on that Volvo, that shape, because they look like they're in a grey colour, are they? They're painted
like I think they're more like a... you see them on like old 240Zs and stuff, like the Japanese. Yeah.
They reminded me... I was trying to think of the wheel before I came on to chat with you because I saw it on you. I had a look on your Instagram just again before I came online, and I thought, it reminds me of one of those Porsche wheels. It's got that grey and it's got... Maybe it's just the colour of it. But
I do know the name of the rims, but I can't think of it. Yeah, it's more, it's like a mini light sort of thing. You used to see them on a lot of minis.
That's right. Mini light. Yeah. Yes. That's it. Yeah.
But so I saw this thing and it was relatively cheap, like $6,200, and the guy was super motivated to sell it. He was like, "Dude, I'll drive it down. I'll drive it to you." And I'm like, "Well, dude, if you drive it down, it's going to make it from Sydney to." I caught the train up to Albury and rode my mountain bike out to the airport and met him at the airport. So he literally pulled into the airport, gave him the cash. He jumped on a plane back to Sydney and I drove back to Mansfield.
So he met you at the border.
Yeah, it was like, dude, if it makes it down, well, I guess that's your PPI right there.
So that was enough for you. I guess when you're spending that much money, it's not like a huge deal, is it? I mean, because there's going to be certain things you have to fix. It's kind of like it comes to a price point where you think, it's probably okay. I mean,
willing to take the risk. And
yeah.
Yeah. And
all right. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, he'd spent a bunch of coin on it. He'd done a lot of stuff to it. And, mate, it's touch wood. I just wanted a car that I could change the oil myself and work on. It's a great old car. I do love it. And the kids love it too.
It looks like it's in pretty good condition, though, from the images. It looks like it's in pretty good nick.
Yeah, she's a clean old girl for sure.
Yeah. All right, so you've got 3 cars in your garage. You've got the 2 Renaults, which are really good drivers' cars. Then you've got the Volvo wagon, which is, a cool ride. So what is it then? Are you still hankering for the 911? Are you still thinking about that Carrera that Shirley Strawn had? Are you still thinking about those cars you used to see on the street, or the Matchbox cars? Why?
Always.
When does the Porsche... So have you always been... You kept looking for Porsche for sale? Were you just waiting for one to come up at the right price? How did it happen, and what were you searching for when you first started searching for a 911?
Alrighty, so obviously I've always wanted a Porsche. And, sort of... As a teenager and that, I'd be out because my dad's always been a car guy as well. And, we'd always see different Porsches or Ferraris or whatnot and always point them out and whatnot. So, the desire to have one has always been there. But I've never actively looked because of the cost. Like, it just seemed unobtainable. I was like, well, I'm not at that point yet.
Yeah.
But so we moved to Mansfield. We're here for 12 months and I'm in town one morning and, see this beautiful... 996 turbo. And I knew the Porsche range, but I wasn't that well versed in all the generations and whatnot. But I knew, as soon as I saw it, I knew that it was a 911 turbo and I knew that it was sort of early to mid 2000s.
Okay.
And so I'm standing there looking at this car and this lovely gentleman comes up and is, the owner, and he's like, "Oh, you're looking at my car?" And we start talking, and craziest thing, it turns out he lives like probably 800 meters up the road from our house because we're on sort of like 8-10 acre blocks. So, I mean, you don't see your neighbors that often.
Yeah.
And Rob, this guy I meet, he's got a whole collection of Porsches.
Oh, really?
So we start hanging out and talking and obviously I get to find that he has this 996 Carrera, this C2, which is the one that I bought. And it's crazy. So I've known of the 911 that I bought for like 3 years. We would go out on Sunday drives. I'd take like one of the Renaults, and he'd be in one of his Porsches. Quite often, he'd be in the 911 that I ended up buying off him.
Right.
And yeah, I guess once I sort of got talking with Rob, he sort of, I started to learn the different generations, your 996, your 997 and whatnot. And yeah, started having a look and seeing that the 996s were pretty cheap, I suppose.
Yeah.
Well, cheaper than what I thought they were.
So you met Rob. You go to his house and you see the cars he has? I mean, you don't just tell everyone.
For sure.
So you see the cars he has. So he's got a pretty good collection. He's got a handful of Porsches.
Look, at that point in time, he buys and sells cars all the time, but he had that 996 turbo. He had I think it was like a 2014 Cayman S.
Okay.
He had the 996 Carrera that I bought, and he had it was like an 80, at a guess, an 84 928.
Okay. So you weren't really... you run into him in the street, you're at the shops. Were you actively looking then for a 911, or that wasn't happening? So you meet up with Rob.
No.
How does he say, hey, I've got this car for sale, do you want to buy it? Or was there a bit of time between that where he wasn't really selling it then, but then he said, hey, I'm going to sell one of my 911s?
So that Carrera was never actually for sale. So we started hanging out and we'd go on drives and whatnot, and we're always talking. And it's funny. It turns out, not to go into it in too much depth, but it turns out he owns a company in China and does aerosol packaging and whatnot. And the business I started 5 years ago, we do similar things. We have aerosol. Some of our products are in aerosols and whatnot. So we're always talking cars.
Yeah, I checked out your link actually. What you sent me. I checked out your business link.
Yeah, so we'd be always talking cars and business and whatnot. And yeah, I just said to him, I said, dude, I'm not ready to buy it yet, but when you want to sell that Arena Red 911, and I was sort of just taking the piss a little bit, but I was sort of setting myself that goal as well. I'm like, yeah, when you want to sell it, dude, let me know, because I'm going to set the goal of buying that off you for sure. Because like we were talking about before, that car has the X51 engine option.
Yeah, let's get into that. Let's tell the listeners what you bought. But I just want to say, so this is what's great about Porsche ownership and the Porsche community. I think exactly what you said. You know what I mean? Which I've mentioned before in previous podcasts. It's about the story. Do you know what I mean?
For sure.
I mean, the story that you have, that you hadn't met this guy before. You met him in the street where you live. He lives nearby. He has a Porsche collection. You eventually buy one of his 911s. You know what I mean? And that story is a story that you have, but that's a story that the next owner will have if you ever sell this car. And I think that's what's great about Porsche. It's that story that gets you in. Do you know what I mean? It really does get you in. So you're going to buy this car off Rob. You know he's a Porsche enthusiast. He's a Porsche. He's got a few Porsches. Do you go through I want to get into the fact, if when you buy it, do you go through the normal process of getting checks on it, or you just skip that? But before that, just tell the listeners exactly what you bought, the color, which you've mentioned before, but exactly what you bought, the year, and if there was any options on the car that you know of that came factory from Porsche.
Yeah, so it's a 1999 Carrera, C2, in Arena Red. And the key option that it has is that X51 engine option, which is, from what you read, is a very rare option. And there's interesting stories about that 3.4 X51 engine was developed alongside the Metzger engine and this and that. It was a backup design if the Metzger mechanically failed or didn't meet regulations and whatnot. There's all sorts of debates on the internet, but it is interesting. It does sort of address some issues that 3.4 litre engine had, like heating. So this thing's got an extra radiator in the middle of the bumper. It's got extra oil lines that feed cylinder 4 and 6 and whatnot, which were typically the bore scoring situation. So it was a more developed engine for sure.
So the X51 package is a huge option to have on a car. To find a 996 with an X51 is very rare. I did see one that came up on car sales. I think it was in blue, and I think it had more spoked wheels, and it wasn't that long ago. But I haven't seen hardly, and it was a high mileage one. It was a very high mileage one. But I think, is the X51 about 30 odd horsepower more, isn't it? Something like that.
And I believe it was over. I believe it was over like 20 grand, because the thing has a GT3 intake plenum.
Yes.
Different cams, different valves, different sump, different headers. Like then the extra radiator, extra oil lines. It's a pretty significant.
It really made it, Matt, though, sorry to interrupt, it really made it very close to that 996 GT3 experience, didn't it? And I think it's interesting what you said, and I didn't realize that it was being developed at the same time. It was like a backup or whatever you said. But the fact that it was an expensive option, 20 grand at the time for an engine upgrade. Most people would have opted out of it. Most people didn't take it up.
For sure.
Do you know the numbers of that? Do you know the numbers of how many people have it? How many X51s were delivered into Australia? I think I saw a turbo 996 with an X51 package. Do they have them on turbos or not? Am I getting confused?
Yeah. No, I think so, but I would think it would be a very limited number. Because man, this car, I've got the original. This car was sold from the Porsche Centre in Melbourne. That's where it was originally delivered, and they actually. It's an interesting story. I'm actually going to go there soon and see what history they have on the car, because the first in the manual, you know how it's got you document when you look in the front of the manual, it's got the list of the names of each owner. I'm like the fourth owner. But the first owner was actually the Porsche Centre in Melbourne. They spec'd the car and bought it. So I think it must have been like a press car or something.
Yeah, which is why it's probably spec'd with the X51, so it was one of the dealer cars. Did they have you got the option codes? Is a sticker still on underneath the bonnet or in the book, so you know what other main options it had? Was there anything else that was a little bit rare for the time?
All it really had was it had the X51, and then the rims, because it's got aftermarket rims on it, which I'm literally just about to change back tomorrow. Okay. But it was factory spec'd with 18-inch turbo twist rims. But that's about all. Other than that, option-wise, it's...
I think that wasn't Arena Red. I mean, Arena Red, I like the color of your car, and I didn't realize it was Arena Red. And it reminds me of, and I had this conversation with Dan in Brisbane, who has the 944, and his is in Garnet Red. And the Garnet Red seems to be very similar to the Arena Red, and I thought it was a similar color. And Arena Red was the hero color on the 993, wasn't it? I think 993 was the one that, in all those ads, it was the one, I know Steve always talks about it. I think it was 993. There is something about, and I don't know what it is with the 996, I see certain colors. James at Porsche Platz had the white 98 Carrera that he had a picture of on his Instagram, and I thought, for some reason, white in 996s looks great, and there wasn't many people who were speccing basic Carreras in white. And there's something about that color of yours as well, which just suits the shape. Especially when you did that, the whole detailing thing, which I want to talk about as well. And it was all amazing. It looked like brand new. It's an amazing, amazing color. So the listeners should just check out Matt's Instagram while we're talking, because it really does look fantastic. So, okay, so you get this from Bob, isn't it? Is it Bob? Rob. Rob. You get it from Rob.
But I must say, if I can cut in there for a second, in that process of sort of planning to buy the car, I'd sort of stumbled across PorscheCooled, upon the podcast, and obviously started, while I'm at work, start listening to the podcast and come across the owner stories. And mate, seriously, listening to the owner stories, I was like, I'm fucking buying that car, man. I'm hearing everyone.
You're blaming me then.
Absolutely. hearing all the stories and of people buying them, I'm like, dude, this is. Yeah, it's a sign for sure.
Yeah, and as I say to everyone, as soon as I've had someone on owner stories, I get off and I start searching, car sales in Australia or Auto Trader in the UK, and I'm looking at prices of 924s and 944s, and you know what I mean. So it's very addictive. It really is once you start hearing people's stories. So you got this car though. So you buy. Do you bother to do a PPI? Do you bother to do any checks? What's the process you get since you're buying it from someone who's now become a friend?
So the situation, Rob had owned the car for 5 years. He had receipts for about 20 grand within that 5 years. Just all stuff that needed to be done, like all the bushes, wheel bearings, new clutch, IMS. The IMS was perfectly fine. They just changed it out, just what you do. I mean, the car, it honestly drives like brand new. It's so tight and so firm. It's only got 100,000 Ks on it. It's got 102,000 Ks on it.
Wow, that's low. That's low for 99.
Yeah, he didn't drive it a lot, but he's a meticulous owner, man. He spent a fortune on it, and he got all the original receipts from the Porsche Centre in Melbourne. And I mean, the thing was, I don't know how much they were new, but this thing was 218 grand when it was sold.
Wow, that's quite a lot.
Absolutely.
That seems quite a lot. I'm just looking at your car now. So, okay, so you get it from Rob. You decide to do the deal. It had these aftermarket wheels on. Was there anything else that had been added to the car? Was it just those aftermarket wheels or anything else?
It's funny, mate. It's ultimately I wanted a stock car. Like when I'm buying something like that, I want it completely stock. And look, the car's never been messed with. I mean, look, it sort of has, I guess. It's got a fab speed carbon intake.
Oh, okay.
And it's got a fab speed exhaust system.
Okay, so it has a few modifications. But let's just go back. Sorry, I'm jumping forward here a bit. Let's just go back. You do the deal with Rob. You decide to do the car. The price is right. You're thinking about, that Carrera that you saw all those years ago, and you drive it from Rob's to your place. How's that feeling when you first get in it and you realize you now own a 911? I
mean, yeah, it's just insane. You're just like, you're just like, what the hell, man? What have you done? Like, look at this shit. You're driving a 911.
Yeah, it does feel like that, doesn't it? It's a bit like you kind of are lost for words. I have to say, you're a bit lost for words.
But seriously, I've had it for a couple. Like, I've only owned the thing probably not even 3 months. Yeah. And it's still surreal. Like, it's actually in Melbourne at the moment because I'm picking it up tomorrow. It's just had that paint correction done at Dan's garage, if anyone's in Melbourne looking for a killer job done. And yeah, Dan would send me photos when he finished. And I'm flicking through the photos, looking at this 911, and it just doesn't even feel like it's my car. I'm like, wow, this is a beautiful car. I wonder who owns it.
Yeah, those pictures, actually, we'll just talk about that quickly. The pictures that you sent me, it had the paint correction and ceramic coating.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought you did it yourself. I don't know why I was thinking that. I think because Steve's been talking about doing it himself. I wouldn't do it myself either. I get someone to do it. I'm happy to wash the car, but I don't want to spend that much time.
No.
It looks fantastic. Like the arena red paintwork has come up beautifully. It looks really, really cool. So you said that you want to... So the modifications that the car had, when you bought it, you were happy with those modifications? You weren't fussed by them? It didn't sort of deter you from buying it? That you knew it had the fab speed? You knew it was an aftermarket wheels. Aftermarket wheels you can always change.
Yeah.
I'm more of a fan of an OEM wheel. It doesn't have to be the right wheel for the generation necessarily, but I'm a fan of OEM wheels.
Me too, bud. Absolutely.
So you said you're looking at wheels now. Is that the first thing? Is that going to happen very shortly? So you're going back to the original spec of the car?
No, I got some the Gen 1 GT3 18-inch BBS rims.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so because the car's obviously, that's another option, factory option. It had the GT3 Aero kit.
Yeah, because your car's got a wing, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's got the factory and the skirts, and I think the bumper's a bit different. But it is funny. It's definitely worth noting in the respect that the fact that it had the X51 option was a big motivator to pursue that car, because I've got to be honest, I've really grown to love the color, but it's certainly not my first choice in color. Like, I would have loved a white. White would probably be my first option. And not that the car's heavily modified, but I'm not massive on those rims. When I first saw it, I'm like, I wasn't. Yeah, but like you said, they're things that can easily be changed. And that X51 option, it was too good with the Ks that it's got and everything that's been done to it and the way it's been maintained.
Absolutely.
It was too good not to jump on.
Absolutely, because it's got low mileage, it's got low kilometers, it's got a good history. Porsche Centre in Melbourne obviously purchased it. I mean, when you're thinking about now with how it's got the Aero kit and it's got the X51, you know, it was almost like a GT3 alternative. Obviously, they wanted to put a car in there that was a little bit, you know, like a GT3, but not a GT3. I think it seems that's what they were doing.
For sure.
You know, the aero kit looks great. The aero kits, you know, factory aero kit looks fantastic. And I'm a bit like that with wheels, like I said. And I almost walked away from my 997 because it had, you know, 20-inch Tecard wheels on it, which was stupid because, you know, I just changed them out and now it's fine. So the wheels that you bought, are you getting them? You bought them used? Obviously, did they have to be refurbished? Were they in good condition?
No, they're fine. I literally only picked them up this afternoon, and just gave them a good wash. They're great. They're 80% there, and yeah, I'll get them on the car tomorrow. And happy days, because it is funny, worth noting too. The rims that are on it are 19-inch.
Yes,
and it's got 295s on the rear, and they do, when you're sort of getting stuck into it, heavy driving, they can scrub out a bit on the rear guards, and that's just not cool for me at all.
Right, so you're going back to stock wheel size, right?
Yeah,
so the tyres will be
18s,
the stock. Yeah, 18s and stock size. So have you worked out tyre-wise, you worked out what sort of tyres to get on it? Are you getting what Porsche would have recommended at that period, or are you just getting something else?
Just the Michelin, the Pilot Sports for sure, yeah.
Pilot Sport 2s.
Yeah. All the Renaults that I've had, Renault would always spec with Pilot Sports, and I've always had Pilot Sports on all of them. And
I wonder if you are going to notice the driving to be, the feel of the car to be completely different though, Matt, because I noticed when I changed from my 20-inch Tecards to my 19-inch Lobster Claws, it felt so much better. Like the ride was, the ride was still sporty, but it just felt so much better. And, you know, my rims were like maximum size you could get into those wheel arches. There wasn't much room, that's for sure.
Yeah, it'll be far more compliant. And the 295s on the rear are really stretched on the rim. And I reckon the rear end feels a little bit wallowy, like the tyre wall's sort of rolling around a little bit, because it just stretched a buggery on those rims. Like it's... Yeah, I think because Rob, it was like that when Rob bought it. So I think the previous owner had sort of pimped it out a little bit, I think, like put those bigger rims with these huge tyres, and he put some crazy stereo system in it under the front boot. Yeah, it's got like a big amp and everything in it, which I'm going to get all taken out like.
So you're going to get that removed. Are you tempted to go down we're going to talk about actually things you want to do with the car. So, you know, like, actually, I just want to go back to the sound, and I want to come back to the PCM unit and things like that. The sound of the car, the fab speed. And I know other people have put fab speed on their 996s. I can't remember who it was, but I have spoken to other people who've added fab speed. Are you happy with that sound? Is it a nice sound inside the cabin?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of other exhaust you can get for the 996, but will you keep that one on?
For sure. The thing... Yeah, I've only sort of driven it up here on country roads, and I took it to Melbourne last week when I was dropping it off at Dan's, and driving in traffic, man, the thing's loud. Like, it's super loud, but it sounds amazing. Everything about it, 'cause it's on, it's got fully adjustable height and damping Bilstein coilovers on it as well.
Oh, okay.
It's good to go. I just want to get these 18s on it, and then happy days.
That's good. That's a good option. They're good options though. They're good aftermarket mods. You know what I mean?
For sure.
The Bilsteins are great. They're quite new, are they? They're not. They're in good condition.
Yeah, they're new in the respect that the thing obviously needed new shocks. I mean, why would you just put the stock? I mean, Bilstein make essentially a kit for that car. It's like, yeah. That's exactly what I would have put in it anyway. So,
it's tastefully done, that side of it. You've got the good shocks. You've got the good. I think the Fab Speed's a great exhaust. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Fab Speed's not a cheap exhaust. I went the cheaper option with the Fister.
Yeah.
But the Fab Speed is a great exhaust. Now this stereo system, you know, we all know that the 996, and I'm waiting for it to come out on the 997, has the PCCM Plus or whatever it is, the one that Porsche's doing, where it replaces the original unit. Is that something you're interested in when you rip out this boombox that the guys put in, or are you just going to put stock back in, the original one?
Probably just the stock. I mean, those retrofit ones from Porsche seem pretty cool, but they're like $4,000.
And your air conditioning vents change in those too. I didn't realize. Someone told me that the other day. When you get that, it's the air conditioning vents at the top have to change as well at the same time. I don't know if that was true, but someone told me that.
Okay. Yeah, look, I'll probably just leave the head unit that's in there. I mean, I never have the stereo on anyway. I'll probably just leave it in there just to fill the gap. And it's funny. It's like the first generation sat nav and stuff. Like the sat nav does work, but
yes,
I mean, yeah.
I mean, I've left the original one in mine. I've never changed it. I mean, Steve in his GT3, he changed it to a CarPlay unit. Aftermarket CarPlay unit. And I know a lot of people do that. I've just left my Volcano Grey, original 997 unit in mine, and I'm just sort of dealing with it. I possibly would get the Porsche one if it was better, and which it is better, but if it wasn't so expensive. But I know, like you said, 4,000 is quite a big price when you can get other units for like 1,200.
Yeah, and I think for me, when I'm in that car, I couldn't give a fuck about CarPlay or speaking to people. It's like I'm in the car.
Good point.
Yeah, I'm in the car because I don't want to be. Yeah, it's me time. I don't want to be distracted. I just want to drive and engage with the car for sure.
Yeah, I'm the same. I don't turn on my PCM. Half the time I don't have music on, and I don't use the sat nav anyway because I know my way around where I drive. So it's not like I need it. You know what I mean? So it's not really. And I'd rather have the window down a little bit so you can just hear the engine. That's what's so nice about it, that you can actually hear that engine. So what's planned for the? So what about the interior though? You've got a car that's only got 100,000 kilometers. Was the interior in good condition? Because we all know the seats in 996s tend to wear a bit. The plastics don't wear so well. How was the interior?
The interior is awesome. Seats are immaculate. It's even got. Yeah, I'm not sure if the 997 had that on the passenger side door sill. It's got like the little Porsche umbrella.
It has the spot for it. It was an option. Mine didn't come with it. I actually bought one, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, this has still got the original Porsche umbrella in there and everything. Yeah, you can see it's been loved by each owner, and Rob in particular, who I bought it off, he keeps his cars just immaculate because since I bought, in the last sort of 6 months, he's got a base model 992 Carrera.
Okay.
And he's got a 981 Boxster GTS.
Okay. So he literally sold all of his cars that he had previously and bought different ones.
Exactly. And it's funny. Since I've had the Megane, he actually bought a Megane, a Red Bull edition Megane, similar to the one that I've got.
Oh, okay. Okay. You know the umbrella you were talking about, just so you know, if that's the original umbrella, which is the one with the silver ring and it's leather, you can't actually buy that anymore. It's actually not available as a spare part.
I'll have to have a look. I have never taken it out of the little leather case that it's in.
Yeah, that's not available as a spare part anymore. They offer another umbrella, which is the one I bought, which is actually not as good. You can't actually get that one if you want to buy it. So it's actually a collectible. It's a collectible, Matt.
No, but like the interior is super clean, man. Like it's and I'm anal about interiors. Like literally, I'm still at the point where, and I'd like to think I'll be there for a little while. After every drive, I pull it into the factory, get the vacuum out, vacuum all the feet marks out of it. I mean, that's probably a bit obsessive, but
yeah, I'm a bit like that as well. So the gears in the manual gear shift, is it with the X51? Did that come with a short shifter kit? Do you think is it a shorter throw than the normal 996?
Nah,
no.
I wouldn't say it's super short. Like it's, I'm honestly still getting used to driving it because the Renaults feel like a little toy. You know, the Renaults they're tight little gearboxes, but the clutch is really light and it's a light and playful car, where this is super mechanical. I mean, man, when you're warming the thing up, second gear, it's hard. Like the gearbox is so notchy when it's cold.
That second gear is problematic, isn't it? That's the one thing I still haven't got used to. It's like until everything's up to temp and you've driven it for a while, that to getting into second gear is not easy. It's the same on my 997. It's really not easy. In fact, when I first got my car, I thought it was a problem with the gearbox. I thought it wasn't right until I started reading on Rennlist, and everyone said that's just how it is. Yeah,
some mornings you can barely get the gear in. I remember. Yeah, the first time I took it out by myself because Rob dropped it off at the factory where we have a factory in town, and he left and I got in it, and Emma, my wife, got in it, and it took off, and I pulled out onto the main road and sort of gave it a bit of stick, but like up to sort of $4,000 in first, and then just fucking ground second. I was like, Jesus Christ, what's going on here?
So how does it feel? Like, you know, that you've taken it for a drive on the twisty roads around where you live. How did it feel in the 911? Because, you know, I always make that point about when I first drove mine one to the Royal National Park in Sydney with Steve, and how I really felt the transfer of weight. I really felt that you knew that the engine was in the back. You could hear it. You could feel the weight transfer. How was that experience after driving the Renaults so many times on similar roads? How did the 911 feel? Was it a weird experience in that respect?
Yeah, I think the best way to describe it is scary.
Yeah, it is a little bit, right?
Absolutely. You just have this fear that it's going to fucking break out and you're going to be facing the other way at any point. And you have to logically think about the thing's got 295s on the rear, the engine's hanging over the back. Even though it feels sort of rear end heavy, it's not just going to snap and...
No.
Yeah, but you do... Because I've never driven anything like it. Like like I said, it's only the... I've only ever driven one Porsche, and it's the one that I've got. And yeah, I'm still getting used to it. And I think it's going to... I think I want to do a track day in it, not to push it on the track, but just to be able to try and find the limits. I'm not going to attempt that on the roads around here. I mean, the last thing I want to do is...
Yeah, to understand the limitations. I mean, you're right. I mean, when I got my 997, I'm the same as you. I hadn't really driven a Porsche. I'd been in many. I've been in Steve's and I've been in Boxsters, and so I knew the feeling of it and I knew the sound of it. But when you drive it, and other owners have said this as well, like at first you're a bit scared because you don't know the limits. You know, you don't know the limit of the grip. I think that's what you were saying. You know, it's that limit of the grip. And, you know, when I'm following Steve in his GT3 and his 997 GT3, and I remember the first couple of times, it was like, I don't know how he's taking those corners so quickly, because I just wouldn't, and I know it's a GT3 and it's stickier, but it is also, you're so new to the car and new to 911s and new to Porsches that you just don't know when that back end is going to, you know, go out, basically. And I think it just takes time. I mean, I feel much more comfortable with the car now because I have, you know, more experience with it. But it is something that is in your mind when you first start driving it. That's for sure. Yeah,
they're a very different. Yeah, there's such a unique car. Like there's nothing like them. And I mean, for example, the little Renaults. I mean, you can literally push and push, and even when you get close to the edge, you can feel it saying, "Hey, look, we're getting close to the edge. Maybe just think about what you're doing." And then. Never just going to break out and do anything crazy. And look, the 996 probably wouldn't, but I mean, maybe it would. Like, but I guess that's part of the draw card, just learning. Yeah. Learning to.
Does the 996 feel a lot more powerful than the Renaults or not?
It's funny. When I first got it, I was obviously eager to sort of see what the performance was like, because when I test drove it with Rob in the car, like I obviously didn't take it out to the red line or whatnot. And yeah, at first I was a bit not underwhelmed. I just wasn't sure what to expect. My expectations were all over the place. And the Megane goes quite well, but from recently sort of jumping from car to car, yeah, the Porsche, it goes super well. It's definitely way quicker than the Megane. And yeah, that 3.4 litre engine in them, such a revvy engine. Like, I didn't think it'd be so rev happy. Like, it revs right up to $7,000, no worries. Like, and sounds super comfortable up there as well.
But is it a good combination? Is the 996 with the X51 and the Megane? You've got a really good combination there of cars to take for a fun drive.
For sure, because they're all so different. When I got the Megane, I was sort of thinking, well, yeah, if it's does the same job as the Clio, well, I'll get rid of one of them. But the Clio being naturally aspirated, the Megane being turbocharged, they're super different. Like the way they drive, where the power is. So yeah, I'm really happy and fortunate to have the cars, the humble collection that I do. And
it's a nice collection.
Yeah, mate, I just love them. And the roads that we have up around here, like, there's like 2 or 3 Targa high country stages that we can drive.
Yeah, we're going to get into that. I want to get into the roads, but I want to ask you one question because it's something that I'm not a fan of. I'm not trying to upset you, but the rear of your car, I'm looking at one of the images of you have on Instagram, and the rear is fantastic. And I see Flat Six Affair has commented on that one. There's no Carrera badge. What's going on? You're not
Yeah,
going to
look-
re-add that Carrera badge and take it back to, telling people what you drive?
Look, it's funny, the whole debadging thing, because both the little Renaults I debadged. I didn't debadge that 996. That's how it came.
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I've thought about. I mean, maybe I will. Maybe because it does look a bit sort of, typically.
I always think it needs it. I'm a little bit old-fashioned like this, I think, with 911s. I even think the new ones, when people do badge it, I mean, the new ones have too many sort of names on the back, but I still think 996s, 997s, in my opinion, I think they look better when they've got either the 911 or the Carrera badge if they're a base. Yeah, one or the other.
No, for sure. I think
balances the back.
I think you're onto something.
Balances the back, especially when you got a wing. I think when the wing as well, because the height is quite high at the back. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something to look into.
I think you're onto something. I'll keep that. Make notes.
So Matt, what else is planned? What else are you going to do to the 996? Is there anything that you've done that great ceramic coat, you're about to get your car back and take it for a spirited drive and get the dirt on it and not have to worry about it? You're just going to hose it off and it'll be all perfect. What are the other mods you're thinking about that you want to do to the car? You're going to change the wheels. That's going to be exciting. So you're going to have the GT3 Mark 1 wheels. It's got completely ceramic coated and paint corrected. What's next?
Drive it, mate. Drive it. That's sort of literally. I have these grand plans of, I want to go away down the coast, and come springtime, want to go up over Mount Hotham, up near where we live, and down to Omi on the coast. Literally, just want to get out and enjoy the car. I really haven't had I've only sort of just driven it on some local roads from work back up home, and I want to go away, like just get in the car and drive.
Put some miles on it.
Yeah, for sure, bud, for sure.
Because you've only had it for 3 months, right? 3 months.
Probably not even. Probably
that.
2 months, I reckon.
Wow. Yeah, I know it's still fresh and still new. You just want to. I mean, I'm hankering to drive my car again. I can't tell you. I thought I was going to get out. I thought I was going to get out earlier. I thought we were going to get back in June, and then it was going to be like, now it's not like to October, and then by the time we get out of quarantine, it'll be end of October. So I'm like, as I said to Steve the other day, I don't care about miles anymore. I don't care about adding miles. I mean, I haven't driven the car in 2 years. I'm going to do some long road trips. I'm going to go down to Victoria. I'm going to go to Queensland. I'm going to do some really good road trips and do good roads in other states. That's what I want to do. So that's the plan for me.
Yeah, and that's exactly. It's the kind of car that you just want to. Do a day of driving, go stay in some nice accommodation somewhere, go out for a nice meal, wake up the next morning, and there she is, get in the car and do the same thing again. It's, you just want to spend time in it and enjoy it.
Absolutely. Great fun. So let's get onto that. Let's get onto the driving roads, because we always like to, nearing the end of the podcast, we like to tell the other listeners around the world, because we have a lot of people from the US and Europe and Canada and Portugal. Puerto Rico.
Yeah,
we have a lot of people. Now, if they're coming to Australia and they're coming to Victoria, what are the roads you would suggest, or what are the roads you want to take your 911 on that you think the listeners would enjoy?
So there's a couple of key ones. I mean, probably the best roads closest to Melbourne, out the eastern suburbs, like you go out through Warburton, and it's a road called the Reefton Spur. Takes you from like East Warburton up to up near Lake Mountain, and then back down into Marysville.
Right.
Yeah, the Reefton Spur. That's cracking road. It's amazing.
Okay.
But then from there, the high country of Victoria, like Mount Buller, the Jamison Eildon Road. So from Jamison to Eildon, that's a Targa high country stage. Obviously Mount Buller, the road up to Mount Buller is a Targa high country stage. And Mansfield-Whitfield Road, that's a Targa stage as well.
So these are all the roads you're yet to take the 911 on, because you've only just got it. So that's what you're going to do.
I haven't done the Reefton Spur, but Mansfield-Whitfield Road is like literally 5 minutes from our place, and Mount Buller's like 25, 30 minutes from our place.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so I have done.
You're in a good region, that's for sure.
No, it is. It's awesome, bud. And I have done. Met a couple of other locals. There's a really strong Porsche community in Mansfield, and a guy who owns a business across the road from our factory, he's got a 1980 I think, what's that, like an SC, 911 SC? Is it a little Targa?
Could be an SC. Yeah.
And
Nice.
yeah, we've been on a couple of drives, done Mount Buller a couple of times together. It's he drives the crap out of that thing. It's scary, but yeah, good times.
So there's a Porsche club sort of chapter, or there's just like a cars and coffee that people sort of meet up and you're starting to get into that and driving with these people?
So there's a local car club, but there's just a lot of Porsches. It's not like a Porsche specific club, but there's a lot of guys up here with Porsche collections.
Oh, that's good.
And like some proper serious ones. There's a guy that lives not too far from here that's got like, two 996 GT2s sitting in a shed out in the middle of nowhere.
Really?
Yeah, some proper things that you would not expect to be seeing where they are.
Right. These are probably all the people that are on Porsche Forums Australia that have all the good cars that always seem to be in Victoria. I always notice when they're on, I don't know if you go to Porsche Forums Australia, but there seem to be quite a lot of people that have some good cars in Victoria. That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Matt, we're almost at the end. Anything else you'd like to share with the listeners about your 996 before we go?
No, I reckon we've probably covered it all, bud. Loving meeting. Like you've always said, the community is such a great community, and what you guys do, man. Love it. The podcast is fantastic, and the owner stories is such a unique thing, and it's just great. Every Tuesday, or we get them Wednesday, don't we?
Yeah, it comes. It's sort of 1 o'clock here in London. It always comes. Yeah, it's always Wednesday. Steve says as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's friggin' awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's a good thing. So. Yeah, just keep enjoying. That's all the message should be. Keep enjoying and keep driving.
No, much appreciated. Much appreciated. I was going to say, actually, the one question I didn't ask you: Are you a person that does the servicing on your 996 yourself, or you tend to take it to a specialist?
Obviously, I haven't had it serviced yet, and I'm probably going to take it to Fitzgerald's.
Okay.
Because I want to just make sure. Which
apparently is really, really good.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that the suspension's all set up how it should be, and I know they do a bunch of that stuff, but yes. I do want to get a goal is to get a hoist, a 2-post lift, and at least do the oil myself.
Right. So what service is it at, Matt? Is it a major service you have to get done?
Shit, I haven't even looked. I hope not.
I mean, it's not crazy money though, really. But I think what you're doing is the right thing, though, to take it to someone who is a specialist. I mean, Fitzgerald is obviously Fitzgerald Racing, and I know James at Porsche Platz has an association with them. And, to get it checked and set up and get it fully serviced, and like you said, after that, maybe you change the oil yourself, but at least it's done properly first. I think that's a great way to go.
Yeah, when you buy a car, you always need that base starting point. Once you've taken ownership, so you know where everything's at. It is funny with Fitzgerald. One of our suppliers, a guy that I've dealt with for sort of the last 5 years, is literally in the factory next door to Fitzgerald's. So for the last 5 years, I go to Box Hill once every 2 weeks, and mate, the cars that are regularly there from McLaren 720Ss, 911 turbo track cars, like I'm always there, just like.
Temptation.
Yeah.
Temptation. You go straight back onto car sales and see how much they cost.
Oh, absolutely, mate.
That's what happens.
It never stops. It never stops. The next box to tick would always be 997 GT3 RS.
Yeah, it's a good one. If you can get one, if you can afford one, that's definitely a great one. I remember, I saw that one in Porsche Sydney South in 2020, it must have been end of 2018 or 2019, and it was sitting there for a long time. It was in the best color, the gray with the red. And like I said before, it was sitting there at 379, and then it went down to 369, and I think it went down to 349. And, it didn't really sell. And at 349 for a 997.2 GT3 RS is just insane now, because you would not get one at that price. I mean, 996 GT3s, there's a 996, I don't know whether you saw it, there's a 996 GT3 on car sales at the moment, and I think it's almost 300K.
Yeah, is that the black one? In the last couple of months, that classic throttle shop, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
So they had Sydney, They had that speed yellow one that went for $298, and that black one, that literally sold within a week. That's already gone.
Oh, it's gone.
Yeah.
That's crazy that they're hitting 300.
That's insane. I mean, dude, what a car though. If you had 300k,
What a car.
I would have bought it.
Yeah, what a car. I should have bought them when they were 99,000. There was quite a few, a handful, but that was 2004, so that was a while ago. All right, Matt. Thanks for coming on the podcast. Thanks for coming on PorscheCooled Owner Stories. I'm glad we chatted today and you shared your story. I think it's a good one. I think the listeners are going to enjoy it.
Yeah, much appreciated, bud. Much appreciated.
No, that's great. Thank you so much. All right, everyone. That was Matt coming in from Victoria in Australia with his 1999 996 Carrera with the very, very rare X51 package. Arena red. I actually quite like the color, Matt. As I said, I'm not a big red color. I'm not a big red fan either, but I think the Arena red does really suit that shape, especially with the aero kit and everything. I think it looks great. All right, thanks, Matt. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for listening to the PorscheCooled Podcast. That's it for today. Bye for now.